In this video, we're going to look at how to plan a guitar practice routine. My name is Cameron Allen from CameronAllenMusic.com, and I'm going to share with you 5 tips for structuring a practice routine that'll really help you to maximize the time that you spend with your guitar. So let's get right into it. Tip number 1, know the difference between practicing and performing. This is a very important distinction to get clear on. I view performing and practicing as being 2 distinct modes that I can be in. So it's natural when we sit down with our instrument to want to sound good. It feels good when we play well, and we play things well that we've already practiced. Now, if you're playing something that you've already practiced and more or less mastered, then I consider that to be a performance situation, right? You're performing something that you already know how to do. But the goal of practice is to learn something new or to improve on something that we can't quite do as well as we would like to. So I think that there's a place for both of these things, but knowing which mode you're in, if you're in practice mode or in performance mode, is very, very important, and it will help you to make the most out of your time that you spend practicing your instrument or that you spend playing. So if I've only got 30 minutes to devote to practicing the guitar, and I know that I want to get better at a particular skill, then it really won't serve me very well to sit down and start running through the same licks or the same songs that I've done 100 times and that it's just fun to play, right? So while that may be fun, that won't actually teach me a whole lot, and then I might find myself frustrated at the end of the 30 minutes because I intended to practice, but instead I ended up just kind of playing the same things that I already know how to do, and I haven't really learned anything. So that's tip number 1. Make sure that you understand which mode that you're in and that you're very deliberate about the time that you spend practicing. If you want to set aside time to perform, that's fine, but just make sure that you're very deliberate about it and that when you want to spend time practicing, that you are in fact practicing with that time. Tip number 2, clearly define your goals. Before you sit down to practice, it's very, very helpful to be clear about what it is that you want to accomplish in that practice session. So if you just have a goal like, I want to become a better guitar player, well, while that may be true, that isn't exactly helpful when it comes to structuring a practice routine because the goal is too general. You know, becoming a better guitar player, that is so broad that it encompasses a lot of different skills. And when we sit down to practice, we really want to be precise and focused in what we do. So instead of saying I want to become a better guitar player, which can kind of mean anything, if I said something like I want to increase the speed that I can play this alternate picking passage at by 10 beats per minute. Now that is very defined and focused and precise, and it's measurable. So I can actually do something about that right away. If I can play this particular passage at 85 beats per minute cleanly, but I can't play it at 95 beats per minute, and that's where I want to get it to. Now that's very clear. I see the destination, and I can measure my results and set about achieving that goal in a very systematic way, right? I can get a metronome, I can slowly and incrementally increase the speed of that, and I can get where I want to go a lot more efficiently than if I just say, I want to become a better guitar player. Because what's likely to happen there is you might start practicing in a very unfocused way and ultimately not really making the progress that you want. So make sure that you're very, very precise and defined when you're setting your goals, and do all that before you sit down to practice. Make sure that you have a game plan in mind and that the goals that you set are actually measurable and that they're precise and focused. Tip number 3, be consistent. You are better off practicing for 15 or 30 minutes a day, but every single day, than you are spending, say, 5 or 6 hours practicing, but only doing so once a week. So I think a useful analogy here is to think about watering a plant. So, you know, you have to give plants water to keep them alive, right? So the way that you would do that is to water the plant a little bit each day. You give it its, daily requirement of water, and you do that every single day. The next day you come back, you do it again, right? What you wouldn't want to do is to give it a whole week's worth of water and dump it all on the plant all at once, because it can only absorb so much at a time. So you have to give it its daily amount, let it absorb it, come back the next day, give it the daily amount, let it absorb it again. It kind of works similarly when it comes to learning, right? There's only so much that we can take in at any given time. And if you continually reinforce the same things consistently, you're going to learn a lot more quickly, and you're going to have better results just in general. This is really something that can make a huge difference, is to try to set aside some amount of time that you can do every single day that you can spend practicing. Tip number 4, use exercises that train multiple skills simultaneously. If you've taken my advice in tip number 2 and you've made a list of clearly defined goals for yourself, let's say that for that particular week, one of your goals is to increase your speed in a particular legato sequence that you're practicing, and another one of your goals is to get better at transposing. Well, you could just design an exercise that requires you to do both at the same time. So in this exercise, you could play that legato passage that you're trying to get faster at. You could be monitoring your results using a metronome, incrementally increasing the speed and all that. But while you're doing that, you could be rotating the key center. So the first time that you play it, maybe you're playing it in the key of C, and then the second time you're playing it in the key of F, and then the third time in the key of B flat, or you're going through the circle of fourths like that, or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But so it might take a little bit of creativity to design these exercises, but the little bit of time that it requires to do that is well worth it, because ultimately you're going to save time and you're going to get more results in the same amount of practice time. Tip number 5, remember to have fun. No, seriously, I think this is tremendously important. As musicians, we spend a lot of time practicing in a very focused and studious and disciplined way, and that's all very important and necessary. But I do think it's very important to balance that out with playing for enjoyment. This will kind of help you to avoid feeling like this is just becoming a chore, or a drudgery to have to practice all the time. It really, really makes a big difference to sort of give yourself that little reward. Like, I like to do it at the end of a practice session. After I've, done a lot of the hard work and I've accomplished what I wanted to for the day, then I will sort of allow myself to just play whatever I want, just purely for fun, for a few minutes at the end of each practice session. That really can do a lot to help you to stay motivated and to just, I guess, keep it fun, because the more fun it is, the more rewarding it is, the more likely you are to want to do it again the next day, right? So I think it's really important to incorporate that aspect of enjoyment into your playing, because at the end of the day, why do we spend all these hours practicing in this very disciplined way? It's because we love music. We love playing the guitar. I assume if you're watching this channel and you're serious about, learning your craft, you're doing this because you love playing music. So don't forget to have fun when you do this, because ultimately that's kind of the point of music anyway, right? It's to be enjoyed. Okay guys, there you have it. 5 tips for planning a guitar practice routine that's really going to help you to make the most out of the time that you spend with your instrument. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and also subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so that you don't miss any videos that I put out in the future. I've got a lot of really cool stuff planned and a lot of content coming for you in 2019, so make sure you don't miss out. So I'll see you in the next video. You guys be well and take care.